It's here. It's now. It's Wine Talks with Paul K.
Hey, welcome to Wine Talks with Paul K. And we are in studio today, about to have a conversation with Katie Hamilton Schaffer up in the Napa Valley. Introductions in just a moment. Wine Talks, of course, available on Spotify, Pandora, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you hang out for podcasting.
New
And this episode, what's that? And this episode is sponsored by Shopify. This episode is sponsored by Total Wine and More, where you always find what you love and love what you find. But now while we're here to have a conversation with the great Katie Hamilton Schaffer. I mean, I could read this list of accolades, Katie, but 2020 top 20 emerging leaders in food and ag, top 30 inspiring women to look out for in 2022, the top 10 leaders of the follow in 2022, and it goes on and on. 5 best women entrepreneurs. March Feast Network will be inducted to the Taste Awards Hall of Fame in Hollywood. You know, Hollywood, man, that's something else, along with a whole bunch of notables. So welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for the short notice. I was looking forward to speaking with you. I'm about to head to Armenia on the 15th, and I wanted to get some good shows in the can, as they call it in Hollywood, and get this going. So you're in Napa. I'm in Napa.
Beautiful place.
You were mentioning where you're located, just sort of give the listeners a visual. The Great Oxbow, which is a really fun place to be in. You're right across the street.
Yeah, so we're in the heart of the Oxbow district. Many people consider us in the offshoot of downtown, but we are still congregated in the downtown Napa location. I'm 2 blocks from the Culinary Institute of America, a block from the wine train, stone's throw from the Great Oxbow Public Market and the Westin. I mean, the list goes on. So this is really this culinary funk zone epicenter that we are creating into its own real marketing arm and engine, separate from over the river and where, First Street downtown Main Street is. And it's just a special gem. We have a lot to offer here.
It's amazing, actually, because Napa has recovered so well downtown from the earthquake, except for the post office, of course. And even Oxbow, I had conversations with the founder as I was working on a project down here, and even Oxbow, suffered a little bit when it first opened. And wasn't the Institute, the CIA, that was Julia Child's?
It was Copia. Mm-hmm.
Copia, yeah. So now CIA, which is one of the great culinary schools in America, has used it. Is it for classes or just for demonstrations?
It is. I mean, they do definitely demonstrations and classes, but it is kind of their undergrad location for education, separate from Up Valley and St. Helena Greystone. So they're incredible neighbors, and I feel very blessed and humbled to be in this place where we all kind of play together nicely and support each other.
Well, it's developed very nicely, and it's not, it's a hard road to hoe, particularly with COVID, and you're not far from Ken Frank's La Toque.
No, I was just saw him this afternoon for lunch.
Did you really?
Yeah, I'm literally a block from La Toque. And this location, when I built, it took 2.5 years, shy of 2.5 years, to build the studio that I'm sitting in, our upstairs film studio now. And then when COVID hit, I unfortunately had to lay off my team and my production film crew, but started construction on my whole back parcel, which is now the yard by Feast at Board. So we have this very sweet L shape from McKinstry Street all the way to First Street to the back edge of the wine train. So we can party in the back and wave to guests on the wine train and high five them. So it's right next to the Oxbow Commons. So it is definitely this community epicenter and a very large tourist destination. So we're lucky to be prominent in this special space.
It sounds like you're part of, you're cutting edge based on the accolades that I read and where you're at. I mean, one, waving to the wine train, which itself was a controversial issue when it first started, then Oxbow having trouble and CIA, coming in because Julia Child's thing failed. I mean, unbelievable that this bounce back has happened. So you're involved. You were here. This was the part that fascinated me, because I saw your email address And I go, this sounds so familiar. And I was certain that you had come here. I didn't know if it was you or not. I didn't know what the Toolbox Wine Company was. Well, let's start with that. I noticed in my list of vendors, something must have happened, which got you on, got you into the database. But you must have been here selling me wine or asking me to buy wine.
Yeah, we were three women vintners that wanted to create a really fun, playful marketing, negotiant wine business. And cheers, by the way. Well, cheers to you.
Cheers
for having me.
Thank you.
And Toolbox was serious wines, playful marketing, all under $25. And funny little story about getting our label approved, because it was meant to kind of make a joke at, we can drink great wines, and it's like, it was, again, serious wines, playful marketing, but you could get screwed, hammered, nailed, and plastered. And it was Toolbox Wine Company. And so when we submitted the label, which was funny. I was an art major, and I wanted it to be where you really judged a book by its cover, where you looked at it and you're like, oh, that's ugly, but the juice is awesome. And so it was this toolbox that had kind of these funny sexual innuendos. But when we submitted the label, the ABC would only allow us to get screwed and nailed. We couldn't put hammered and plastered because it alluded to overconsumption. So
yes, you cannot do anything to incite the consumption of alcohol.
Right. And so, it was a great time. We donated a portion of proceeds to Habitat for Humanity, which hence was the builder upon three women. And that's kind of where it all started when I moved to Napa Valley and had a bunch of different wine gigs. And then here I am today, having built Pieced It Forward. So I was there. You were probably judging a book by its cover. I'm just kidding.
Well, I would have certainly remembered, getting screwed, hammered, and plastered. So I don't, but I remember the brand Toolbox Kit. So what were you doing before that? I mean, let's kind of just take a half a step back. Some people would say you get your head examined if you're going to try and get into wholesale wine. Yeah.
So I always like to reference that I wanted to go to culinary school, but they didn't have a soccer team. And I played competitive soccer my whole life, got a soccer scholarship in college, even though I thought that I wanted to go to culinary school, and thought, I've been traveling around the country, hoping to achieve high status in the soccer world, which I did and played at San Diego State. And then hung up my cleats briefly to do a stint in Nashville and sing. And had I'm kind of this nomad of, I can honestly say I've tried everything and I've done everything to get to where I am, because I'm able to determine what path I want to take and not take a linear one, but Feast is the culmination of everything I love to do. So brief stint in Nashville, was discussing contracts and working with some record labels, and then moved back to Davis, where I was born and raised, and decided I'm going to fulfill the food and wine dream, and moved to Napa after hanging up my cleats from semi-pro soccer for a year. So I went from college to Nashville to semi-pro circuit to, I'm not going to be Derek Jeter, because even though the world of sports with women is growing and rising, and I just wave my flag in support of it, it was different back then. And so I got to have my brief stint doing that. And then when I moved to Napa, met this wonderful gentleman at Kuvasan Winery that took me under his wing, was doing some private events and chef work up there. And his daughter fell ill with a rare neurological disorder called Rett syndrome. And that kind of, the stars aligned of, okay, how could I, in support of this foundation that we'd like to create, raise money for good and bring all these vintners and all these contacts in the music, food, wine, sports space. And we created Erica's Dream, which was an incredible fundraiser to establish Katie's Clinic at Oakland Children's Hospital, which to this day serves girls affected with Rett syndrome in the Western United States. Helped establish Wine, Women, and Shoes with Elaine Honig, then built Toolbox. Toolbox was acquired, and then Feast was established in that whole time of realizing, okay, I played sports. I have incredible professional athlete contacts. I sang. I have this opportunity. I'm not going to pursue that, but I have a lot of music contacts. I wanted to go to culinary school. You know what? Scratch that. I love food. I've got a lot of food contacts. Had toolbox. So Feasted Forward is all things food, wine, and philanthropy with a taste of music for the greater good. And we are a lifestyle and food network, filming with various celebrities, raising money for charity, and the wineries here are the Coke can in our movie. So if Food Network had sex with Martha Stewart and had a baby with Newman Stone, that's me. There's lots of moving parts.
Yeah, you said a mouthful there. I just want to back up a little bit there. And I look at my career and what I did to do things, which is I didn't play soccer and I didn't go to Nashville because I can't sing. But, I look at every step of the things I've done, and I'm wondering with you, is there anything, it seems like every step that you tried and decided to go after has now rolled into, or that experience has created a foundation for what you're doing today.
Exactly. And I think my dad always told me, if you want to try it, try it. And that's what I did. I literally pursued everything I wanted. And, granted, if I hadn't been a good athlete and I wasn't a singer, then possibly it would have been different. But I realized I love this. I love this. I love this. But putting it in one pretty package to be able to live this passionate path, but not just play soccer, just be a singer, just be a chef, just have a wine brand. Like, why can't I put them all together and do them all for the greater good, And
why not?
Yeah.
Why not do it all, right? Well, there's lessons born of each one of those steps. I mean, teamwork and discipline and being on time and being part of the team. And then, being a singer, trying to cut your own teeth. And, those headwinds are tremendous in that industry. And then culinary is another one. It's interesting. We went to CIA. My daughter is a French trained boulanger. My friends are going to say, why do you say that again? But she went to Alain Decasse's school in Saint-Jean in France. But she had to finish college first before she was allowed to do that. And we went to CIA in Greystone, and it was kind of a weird deal. It was kind of like the chef was sort of suggesting this is an alternative to college, and you'll be on TV soon if you come to school here. She actually ended up in Paris, I think, and then she ended up back in New York at the French school. But it's very interesting to me. So did you pursue the cooking part separately, or did you not finish? Did you not do that?
No. So when I received the soccer scholarship in college, it was like, why am I gonna try to go to culinary school? I've been playing soccer my whole life, right? And I was kind of that kid growing up that entertained, and I wrote letters to Martha Stewart saying I wanted to be here when I grew up. Like, literally wrote letters. Press company.
In jail? No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, not that. But
with Chardonnay.
Yeah. I just feel very lucky, and that I literally tried everything. And I think that you have to have this incredible support system around you. If you don't, certainly I wouldn't have been able to pursue those things. But my dad especially always told me, like, you know what, if you fail, you get back up and you try. And even though I oddly excelled at each of those items, I did them and then determined, am I going to just take that linear path or try to combine it elsewhere? So you're right. It is everything Feasted Forward is this opportunity for me to envelop everything I've ever done. So I didn't go to culinary school, but I get to cook with incredible musicians and chefs. And, Jacques Pepin has a series with us, and I got to cook in his home, and he cooked
wow.
his studio kitchen for 20 episodes, and
wow.
They're like family to me. And so that is where I can live in that world,
I'm jealous of your set here because it looks like a demonstration kitchen of sorts. And when I sold the company, I was hoping that somebody would buy the building we're in. I'd have to move this beautiful studio, but there's a building down the street, which is a demonstration kitchen with this huge photography venue. Part of it he's a friend of mine who's a food photographer by trade. And so like the size, you see this food on the size of a truck, or a lot of Panda Express stuff. All those pictures are his. And I want that building now because he's like, I'm done with this. But I don't have the money. So I'm waiting for somebody to buy this place so I can reinvest in that.
Come do some podcasts up here.
We would
You
love to. We were just up. I did a podcast with the BV, and incredible conversation with this young man at No Love Lost Winery on Highway 29, and Gary from Gary's Wine Market,
Very cool.
which was absolutely fascinating. Incredible conversation, and he offered me a job, so I can. My wife's like, "Take it, you can take it." So I want to now. We're going to catch up to Feast It Forward and talk about what you're doing, because you're obviously have a ton of energy. Like my mom would say, you don't let moss grow under your feet. People have recognized this energy and the things you're doing. But let's talk a little bit before we get into it. The role, the women's role, and the winemaking role of women. The industry is now making attempts to be more inclusive with women and people of color, et cetera. Have you seen a shift since you started Toolbox? Well, I forgot, when did you do when were you here for Toolbox?
Well, gosh, that would have been probably 2007 to 2009.
Wow.
And
who were the two other partners?
Yeah, it was we separated, but Therese Bromberger and Nancy Otten.
Yeah.
Gustavo Therese originally.
I remember. Okay, so back then, let's just go back to that time. It's, that was 17 years ago, or 16 years ago. The industry was different. It's changed radically, even in the last couple of years, with the way DTC's gone and COVID,
Sure.
et cetera. But were there headwinds for you in this industry as a woman? Or you didn't even notice?
I think my husband is awesome. I have two incredible kids, but I think I was supposed to be born a dude. I mean, I'm just going to say I have a very, very strong personality. I'm very transparent. Can I say the S word? Like, I get shit done. And I have a lot of female friends that get shit done too, but I feel like there's this competitive nature of having been on the soccer field, having played at the level I played, that I feel like it's all about teamwork and just let's go. So I can't answer it from a lot of my friends that have had struggles, just feel like they have to work their way through. And I'm like, let's go. Like, you get the confidence, because we're all in the same boat together. And so I never felt like I was held back. I always felt like I was a little brash, but that's how I've gotten so far. And so, we had an incredible group of women surrounding me, and I still, and some of my best friends are the strongest women I know, So
well, I think
I've gotten better.
Certainly, your personality and your DNA is part of that, and the competitive culture that you grew up in. But a lot of kids won't survive in the soccer world because of that. So it has a lot to do with their DNA and how you see life.
100%.
But I agree with you're almost saying that there are some that sort of want to, I'm not gonna say wallow in this area, but use those headwinds as reasons why we're not moving the needle. And it's a slow moving needle. Let's face it.
And I think it might continue to be a slow moving needle, but if all of us can rally together and realize that we're all human, we all have arms and legs and heads and hair, and we can be different colors and creeds and cultures, and we're human, It's just, I don't look at us, I try not to separate female to male, because I feel like I'm just an entrepreneur.
And that's a wonderful outlook, because I've done a lot of women on the show. I've had one wonderful young lady. She makes flower wines literally from dandelions or whatever flowers we're talking about. And Aaliyah, her name was Aaliyah. She's in Oakland, actually. And I was so impressed with the young woman, because not only did she create wine, but she was able to get the ABC to license a 40-foot container in the parking lot of some business in Oakland as a winery, where she does her fermentation and everything. But she said, along the way, because she was a young Black girl, she said, I've encountered racism in this industry. I've encountered sexism, and I've encountered grape supremacy.
Supremacy.
I go, what a great term, because she would walk into a wine shop and say, I have these wines that are made of flowers, and the proprietor would say, well, we don't sell wines made from flowers. We only sell wines made from grapes. Thanks for coming. And I thought, what a great synopsis of her headwinds in one place. So you've now
to be
landed.
clear, Paul, I don't mean to say those comments from this egotistical place. It's just, if I look at my history and what I went through as a child, which I won't even get into, is I'm built to be this strong, punch me and sock me in the mouth and I will wipe the blood off and go back at it. Like I dealt with everything and everybody has their own story, but I genuinely believe we're on this path for a reason, and we go through these struggles and difficult times, and you become the person you are. And so I'm grateful for my history and what I went through growing up, and here I am, and having gone through sports and this competitive nature, I'm built to create things and be told no and take that as, I love hearing no. I love being told I can't do that, or this is a crazy idea. This doesn't exist anywhere, the concept. And I'm proud to say, go. Like, all
That's awesome.
all of my sponsors are people I cold called that are still, Microsoft, Gibson, Sherwin-Williams, B-Wise, Lane, Aker. These are all people that believed in me from my passion, and I'm here because of them.
Well, it's obviously, like I said, it's your DNA, but some people don't recognize opportunities when they see them right in front of them. And this is an important thing. And you see an opportunity. And I've always told my kids and business associates, look, there's two reasons why something doesn't exist. One, it was tried, it didn't work. Or two, it's never been thought of, or it has tried. And so, both of those have paths of success if you want to pursue it. And here you are doing this. So tell me what Feast It Forward is all about. It's a very incredible organization, but I want to hear it from you.
So we are a lifestyle and food network, digitally web-based. Our network is feast.network. So you just go, straight up on the good old internet and type in feast.network, and that's where all of our shows live. They're very Netflix in style. You don't have to subscribe. We'd like you to, but you can watch all of our shows with Jacques Pepin. You can watch our recipe reveal with Rick Moonen. You can watch all of these incredible produced high budget productions that we started 12 years ago. This is a lifestyle food inspiration based network that is we want you to be inspired and educated and entertained. So that started first. So I was on the road with my film crew, going to Jacques' house, in my Airstream, backstage with Imagine Dragons, Snoop Dogg. So we never had a physical property. I was roving around with my crew. So like any network, they're on television or syndicated. Most of them have a physical space. So it occurred to me, if I want this to be real and for people to touch and feel and experience, I need to build what I am calling the first of many click and mortars. And so when you visit me, the moment you walk on the property, everything down to the toilet is a living, breathing sponsor. So you can buy the countertops, the cabinetry, the fixtures, the art, the furniture, the pillows, the guitars. This is one big showroom without a price tag on it, and you can virtually shop to redo your home based on my on-camera sponsors. So when I'm cooking in here with Rick Moonen or Jacques Pepin, I'm cooking on Neolith countertops. We're using Monogram appliances. We're drinking B-Wise Acre Lane wine. So, it's an experiential live marketing venue for my network that is brought to life now for a physical click and mortar location. So,
how many shows are online, and how long have you been doing this?
So about 12 years. We have 10 shows. Many are produced and edited productions, whereas one of our live shows, Rips and Recipes, I was in here with Kevin Bacon and the Bacon Brothers and Chef Chris Cosentino, drumming on pots and pans, drinking wine, cooking, singing, and a live audience is right in front of me, 40 people who've paid a premium ticket that while we're streaming for the globe, that ticket fee they've paid goes back to the celebrity's charity of choice. So when we've had, Charles Woodson and JT Snow and Imagine Dragons and all these people that we work with in here, we're raising money for good. And it's a wine tasting room on crack. let's call it what it is. The downstairs is 16 wineries that are the Coke can in our movie. You can come in and drink and get a glass and a tasting flight and a bottle and look at our shows that are happening upstairs. So I'm upstairs now, where the tasting room is downstairs. And so when I open in, say, Nashville, all of these brands will come with me, and it's culturally designed with all of these same sponsors that are my on-camera brought to you bys, but you're walking into a new experience in that town or city.
Hey, let's take a break for our sponsor, Total Wine & More. There's always something new to try at Total Wine & More. I love this place. The other day I was in looking for a Napa Red and stumbled across the Prosecco aisle and had to buy this Prosecco that was fabulous for under $8. A great alternative to other types of sparkling wines. And then there's French Rosé at under $7, which is incredible. A huge selection of Kentucky bourbon. And with these low prices, I had to get both the wines that I was looking at. With the lowest prices over 30 years, always find what you love and love what you find at Total Wine & More. You can't buy spirits in Virginia or North Carolina. Please drink responsibly, and you must be 21 to purchase. That's Total Wine & More. Check it out. Back to the show. You know, this is fascinating for me. Again, my core listeners think I use that word too much, but just producing this show, and I have a soundproof engineer's booth. I can do 4 cameras. I can do 16 microphones. I've got a set here. You're looking at a painting of my father behind my head here. It's a lot of work to produce an hour's podcast where I'm, like you, I had to let go my engineers when things changed here. And so I'm doing it myself right now. But man, you have a production task. How does this occur? How do you do this?
Yeah, I mean, I've got an incredible crew. My creative director, Chris McCard, has been with me for 10 years. He is incredibly knowledgeable and invaluable, and from a graphics component. If you watch any of our shows with Jacques or Recipe Reveal or The Table, the graphics are beautiful. The production quality is amazing, but our graphics are super, super high quality. And I think it's just the creative process of going back to the teamwork component is, we're just about to start shooting a new show called Umami Universe, and it's about the Japanese pantry and kind of dissecting the Japanese cuisine, because it is so fascinating and can be a little alarming to people and threatened of like, what are the ingredients and what is umami? And so that comes up over a team luncheon, eating sushi and eating miso soup and thinking, you know what, let's do a show over umami, and it's the Umami Universe. So it's just a creative process. And I feel like I'm very lucky to be surrounded by strong people that trust each other, that are honest and transparent and not scared to come up with ideas. And, there's no HR here. Like, if somebody tells me they're having a bad day and they're like, fuck, I need to leave or whatever, we're a family here. I realize you don't fire family, but I feel like we've created this culture where, we all celebrate each other. And I feel very lucky to have built this incredible team around me. And I have a lot of energy. I have a lot of ideas, but it all works.
So production, scheduling guests, scheduling the goods needed to produce food on camera, scheduling the cameraman, scheduling the sound grips, and all this takes time and energy. This is incredible what you put together.
It does take a lot of time, and for anybody watching, when you do post this, go to Feast Network and watch our shows. I started in an Airstream. We had a live audience in the Airstream.
That's amazing.
Singing with me, drinking wine with Alan Stone and Jackie Green and these incredible artists that now eventually will come here. So this is my Airstream now. I was roving backstage and at food and wine festivals, and now this again took 2.5 years to build. It was a feat, but now I welcome the people here. They're taking a seat at our table. They're raising money for charity. They're watching our shows online, but coming in, drinking and hanging out. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. And I can't wait to open in other locations.
My wife said, she thought that it would be a great member benefit of the Wine of the Month Club if I set up a glass wall and had small chairs for members to watch the in-house studio interviews, because we have some amazing winemakers and proprietors here. And I thought, yeah, that's a pretty good idea. And it sounds like that's what you're doing, but this is not a 501c3, right? I mean, you're donating the money, but it's a for-profit organization. And
Right. We're
this is very different.
for profit. When we do the live shows, that audience ticket cost is donated directly back to the celebrities charity of choice. But we also, my new property in the back, the yard, which is intended to be kind of a year-round Bottle Rock or Coachella. Huge stage, 2-story shipping containers, brand activations, Instagrammable moments. We do a lot of fundraisers back there. We've got a lot of community efforts that want to have concert nights that will raise money in the back. So we're rooted in philanthropy. Like that is, you look at my logo, it's our glass fork. We call it a glork. We're rooted in philanthropy. We're all things food, wine, music, and design. And that's what we're about. We're creating a culture of entertainment and give back for good. And there's not a celebrity chef or athlete or musician I haven't met that felt welcomed walking in here being like, this is a badass, fun place that they don't feel, we all put our pants on the same way, we all wake up in the same way. It's just, I feel like the celebrity status, when celebrity chefs became something, it's like, no, like, can we just all be the same culture and community and give you and offer you a platform while we're drinking incredible wines, and people can just feel celebrated here in Napa? So
that's an interesting thought, and I brought it up recently, and I'm going to share with you off camera something that I'm working on. But when I started this industry in the late '80s, you would go to a tasting, and Dickie Smothers and Tommy Smothers would pour their own wines. The Raymond brothers, the twins, would pour their own wines. Pat Paulson, the famed comedian who ran for president, would pour his own wines. Fess Parker, Daniel Boone would pour his own wines. And what really happened to those things, they weren't celebrities at that point.
yeah,
They were, in your case, food and wine people. In that case, they were wine people, and they wanted to talk about wine. They wanted to engage on wine. They wanted to discuss wine. And so they were completely approachable under that scenario. And I'm guessing that what you're doing, bringing these celebrities in, that you're relating at that root level, which is the human level of food, the human level of wine, and the celebrity status sort of gets diluted.
it does. And I think, again, going back to just being comfortable and feeling like when I meet somebody like Snoop Dogg, like, you're awesome, but I don't feel scared or intimidated. Like, you've made a name for yourself. You're incredible. I respect you. Let's talk. Let's have a glass of wine. Let's open up a bottle. And I think, there's something to be said for not everybody is meant to be on camera, but I feel like I'm embracing this culture of, again, like, bringing everybody in, every gender, sex, culture, creed, where we can create this location in Napa that we get a lot of tourists watching our shows and want to book tickets or just drink wine in the back. But we also have an opportunity for our locals to just belly up to the bar and look at our calendar of events. So
that's the question. Then it was like, if I get the question all the time, and I certainly have my own, things I like to do. In fact, we were trying to buy a house in Yountville recently, and it didn't work out, unfortunately. But and certainly, if I get a job at Gary's wine shop, I'm going to have a house up there, right?
Well, I love Gary. Yeah.
But how do I find out? Like, how do I know what's going on at your place? I'm maybe cruising around, Gott's roadside across the street there, and all of a sudden, I hear some noise or something. How do I know?
Yeah. If you go to feastitforward.com, it shows our events. It shows, all the opportunities with our vintners. Downstairs, we have 16 incredible small collective vintners, a part of our property that you can get a glass, a bottle, a tasting flight. So just, go on feastitforward.com, check out the calendar of events and our upcoming filming productions, our concerts in the yard. That's the brand new permanent property that I hinted at. That's kind of a year-round festival vibe. And we've got great social media presence, and so there's really something for everyone. We're also family friendly. There's not many places that parents feel welcome letting their kids run batshit crazy while they're drinking wine and they're playing in our lemonade saloon.
Did you anticipate this? I mean, there's a lot of moving parts here. You just mentioned social networking. I'm very, very intimately familiar with marketing on the internet, and this is a whole nother moving part that requires lots of attention. Did you expect all this when you started this project? Like, well, we're going to do this thing, and it seems like a lot of fun, and I get to hang out with Snoop Dogg and drink Cali Red, or man, we got a lot of moving parts here. We need to figure this thing out.
No, it's funny. When I first created this, it was on a napkin. It was a doodle. I was an art major. I draw all my business plans. It's kind of those vision boards, right? And if I had it in front of me, I could show you the doodle, and everything has happened. And that was 12 years ago. And it didn't happen at once. I mean, this is not an easy feat. It's a process, but I can genuinely say I've been committed and putting it out in the universe of, again, picking up the phone and saying, hey, Microsoft, if you're not going to be my tech sponsor, I'm going to go the other direction. Or, I just met my sponsors at Gibson Guitar a year ago, and they've been a sponsor of mine for 7 years. I think it's that passion in proof of, I'm going to do this. And again, I like hearing no, but I absolutely knew from the beginning in developing this where I was going. And this is just the beginning. And if you were here with me and you actually saw the magnitude of the property and the back that can hold 300 people, I feel proud. And it's not, and again, it's not ego. I think sometimes passion and excitement can come across as she's full of herself. It's like, no, like I drew this on paper. I've done everything. I've had a very difficult upbringing that got me to where I am today, to be like, you know what? I live once in the human form, and I'm going to just, if I fail and fall, like I fail and fall, and then I get up.
I would say, yeah, if you weren't such a doer, and if you didn't execute, yeah, I would say it's ego, because we can all talk a game and we can all sort of thing. But I mean, when you said you had 3/4 of an acre in Napa, I'm like, man, most of the properties in Yountville or in St. Helena are like 5,000 square feet, maybe 6,000 square feet. And here you have 30,000 square feet.
Yeah.
And that's a huge chunk of change, and a pretty prime area, though probably wasn't when you bought it. Like I talked about earlier, that things, that things have changed up there. But you mentioned something earlier, and I it's sort of the moniker of this show, because wine, food, I've had a tremendous opportunity to interview Ken Frank, and we're friends. I consider us friends. I'll tell you a funny story. I met him, and then Michael McCarty, Jonathan Waxman, Joachim Splichal, all these guys that were part of the movement of food. Yeah, a long time ago, but important people. Actually, I'll tell you the story about Ken Frank. Ken Frank and I met at a port tasting in Los Angeles. A great man, Don Schliff, probably the greatest port collection in the world, is right here in Southern California. And he sells this glucohydrate, which is this pasty serum that you rub on your stomach. I guess like Buddha, if you drink too much and you go to sleep. And glutathione is the liver produced enzyme that breaks down alcohol. So this guy invented this paste. And so here I am. I don't know Ken Frank from Adam, except that I know that he was part of that movement. And I don't know who he looks like, but I'm standing at the taxi stand at the Bel Air Hotel, and we're both going, what in the hell is this goop that Don gave us? We both made our way to the bathroom to wash our hands. It smelled like sulfur, and it was disgusting. But that's how I met Ken Frank. And, when I started this trek to interview the chefs of the 80s, I realized he was up at La Toca, and we were up there during COVID. Actually, had a podcast, had a great time. A very, very fun man. But it's not about me. So you mentioned inspire, entertain, and educate. And put those in order for me.
I think inspire is number one, because I'm living what I sought out to do. And I wake up every day pumped. There's no, yes, there's stresses, and do I deal with my headaches? Of course, that's entrepreneurship. But I feel very grateful that I would like to inspire other people to go after what they wish to do and achieve. And again, let's be clear. If I didn't have the support system of my husband and my family and all the shit I've gone through, then I wouldn't be here. But my goal is to inspire other people to be like, you know what, you can do this. Like, even if Gary Vee is somebody I look up to, and he's always like, you know what, you're starting at 42. That's the beginning of life. Look at how much life you have. It's like these 20-year-olds that are doing TikTok movements of it's not gonna last, people. Like, find something you love, find something you're passionate about. So I think inspire is number one, because I feel inspired to continue doing what I love to do. Entertain. I have so much fun. You know, it's like, and educate. There's a matter of education and the entertainment. And so those are, I think, where they're lined up, and in giving back, I give back through all of those, because I feel like there's what goes around comes around, whether it's giving back through monetary, with our philanthropy, or building brands with our vintners. I mean, these 3 vintners are my pride and joy, because they have helped me get to where I am today. And yeah, I think that's the lineup.
Well, I think you're right on, and I use that same moniker here, inspire, because you want people to say, "Wow, that was cool. I wonder if I could do something. I wonder if I can chase my dream or do what I want to do." Entertain, which is, hey, that was a lot of fun, and educate, which is, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And there's so much story to tell, and not only wine but in food, and vice versa, that you will never run out of subjects to do those 3 things.
Never.
For instance, the tsunami concept of yours, which is a great concept. You know, look, let's face it, the American palate is pretty restricted. It's not that refined. It's not certainly as refined as hundreds of years of cuisine in other parts of the world. And if we get a chance to expand that premise and to talk about it amongst the dinner table, this is what inspires me about wine, is that it's always a conversation, and it's a non-threatening conversation. Is food a non-threatening conversation? Like, if you're at a dinner table and they're like, wow, this Feasted Forward episode about unami was incredible. How do people feel when you start that discussion? Are they like waiting on every word that you say, or are they like, oh my God, I want to hear about this?
Mean, I think it's the same thing that relates to wine. Like, it's what's the tagline? You won't remember what people say, but you'll remember how they made you feel. Right? It's like with wine. I may not remember the vintage, but I will always remember that incredible bottle of wine I opened, and the setting I was in, and how it made me feel. And, you know, one of our taglines is take a seat at our table. Well, you know, when we're welcoming you onto this property, I'm asking you to walk into my home, in this place that there's, you know, if you're an asshole and you're a racist, we welcome only kind, pure people drinking good bottles of wine with the same purpose. And if you're if you're a pompous chef or a pompous music, I don't want you here. I'm not here for the limelight. I'm not here for, look what Katie was on camera with. Like, she's famous. That's not, I would have gone to a syndicated network if that was my goal and mission. I think we're this opportunity to lay a even playing field platform where all great wines are created equal and we all feel the same while we're drinking them. And so food, you know, I learned so much from Jacques Pepin. Half the stuff he taught me, it's like he's showing me how to perfectly tuck my fingers, which I, of course, would have learned in culinary school, but just learning from the best. And, you know, him showing me his garden at his home, and Claudine and Raleigh walking me through it's just, yeah, I don't feel threatened by it, because I think food is like people. There's a purpose, and we're all rooted, and we're all pulled up for, I don't know, that sounds like a stupid statement.
Well, no, you know, you're really nailing, you know, the way this industry, and not only wine but food, should be viewed and should be inspired by and should be cradled by the consumer. And one of the things that I regularly profess is that, let's just take wine for instance. The idea of swirling, sniffing, and telling people that it smells like cedar and I get raspberries and blueberries out of this wine, it only propagates the intimidation and the factor of aristocracy in wine. We we self-propagate that. Maybe it's by design because we want to keep our jobs, but the reality of wine is really, as in food, is about the story. And if you could tell the story, which will inspire, they all will inspire
100%.
and educate and entertain, then you're further along with the consumer than you would have been by saying, "Oh, don't you get this raspberry in this wine? This is you must be stupid if you don't taste this, right?"
And I would say you're so right in the fact that the staff that I hire, some of them get nervous about, well, I need to read the tasting notes and learn about that. Well, appellation, okay, you should know this is Coombsville and not Sonoma Coast, right? But the pH and the the palate and roundness and the oak and whatnot. This is the story of the vintners. We're this lifestyle where people walk in here and they certainly can get a $25 bottle of Oberon Cab. They can get an Old Lodge Rosé for $30. They can get a Be Wise Cab for $125 or a Le Merlot for $30, $40. We have something for everybody. We get these young Instagrammers that walk in that like, do you have something sweet? And I don't drink sweet, but I'm not going to judge you and say you should drink this sweet wine because it's an incredible beverage and there's a brand behind it. But I'm not going to judge you for saying that you like a Moscato, right? And I think there's this at a lot of places in Napa. We're getting into this, extremely high profile seated tastings, which there is a time and a place. Absolutely. These brands are reputable. They're incredible. They have to, choose their price based on their location because let's talk about how expensive it is to grow and manage these locations. But at Feast, you can get a great bottle for $30. You can get an incredible bottle for $150, but we're not pinky up judging you based on your palate walking in the door because it's wine.
I don't want you to, my wife doesn't listen to the show, so I can say this, but I'm in love with Kira Belota.
Say that again.
With her Oberon wines, one of the most fascinating women that she is really fascinating. And I've had her on the show twice, and she was here in Redondo Beach for dinner where I had to go with my friends. And she came up and we did another show, and it's just like, oh my God, this is one crazy philosophical, entertaining.
Oh, she's a wealth of, and she's here.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
No, I don't know if she's there. You mentioned her wine, but I interviewed her in her home at the Napa. She's not too far from you.
She's Olivia Brion is one of my 16 wineries.
Oh, is it here? Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Wow. I'm literally like in love with a woman. That's just the way it goes.
She's so fascinating.
That's
and
why
let's talk about a female force of nature in the wine realm of like complete positivity and creating wines that you just can't see anywhere else. And the stories behind them.
I'll tell you a funny story. I'm not going to name any names, but when I did interview Trevor at BV, I was very fascinated by the idea that BV being Treasury Wine Estates wine, that maybe they had lost in the translation, what Andre Telechev brought to the table, but it didn't. I was very impressed with the maintenance of the history of the winery. And immediately after, the next day, I did this No Love Lost Wine with Jay Nunez, and wow, what a philosophical young man who's trying to scrape up 50 grand to get the vintage out of the tank. It's a completely different environment, right? And then there's the Kira Belotas of the world who she's just got a passion to make these wines express themselves. And I bought her a book called City of Vines, which is what LA was called back in the day in the 1800s, because I believe, and I'm sure with food as well, we'll talk about that in a second. We're already getting on too many minutes here, but that what's in the bottle is this culmination of not only the winemaker's history and what they've done to get there, but potentially the history of that soil, a history of the winemaking. If you get into some really old Bordeaux houses or Burgundy houses, and even some California houses, the stories that are brought forward through the generations that are delivered to the current winemaker have to be reflected in the bottle. 100%. It's just like cuisine, right? I mean, all the years that we've been experimenting with cuisine and the chefs that have graced the tables that have moved on, Paul Bocuse and all the people like that those lessons are learned and they're brought to the table, and that person stewards that lesson and moves it to the next level. Is that accurate?
100%. Yeah, I think that's like anything in life. I mean, I think that, yeah, it all circles back.
I think it all comes around. You're talking about experience and having conversation. I'll never forget this. We were in Paris. We were at some cheesy, tourist bistro or something, and I ordered the quiche. Real men do eat quiche, by the way. And then, and so it sat in front of my plate, and I went back to probably when I was 10, because my mom made the same quiche, and it smelled exactly the same. It was turkey and broccoli, and I go, wow, what an experience. And isn't that what you're trying to do, is bring those experiences to the table and let people go, oh my God, I remember this.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's hospitality, right? I mean, we wouldn't be anywhere without water and nourishment. And so,
right.
Yeah, I just,
like your story about Unami, what are we going to try and show here?
Umami Universe. Yeah, that is really dissecting the Japanese pantry and talking about the journey of the ingredients and foraging in different gardens and going to, hopefully, and I'm putting the cart before the horse, but we haven't unveiled the script and episodes, but going to Kikkoman, to their factory, and learning about the soy process.
Wow.
Going to the sake manufacturers and developers in Berkeley, and going to Hog Island and finding the freshest fish and doing, I mean, I love the Japanese cuisine, and the chef that we have coming on board, Chef Ed Metcalf, has very many accolades, had an incredible restaurant in Sonoma. And so, I think we want to create new, unique shows, and all of the shows we've done thus far, whether it's our live shows that are like Vegas, what happens on camera stays on camera. There's no script. I'm just going at it. It's fun and crazy, where our shows with Jacques Pepin are very structured, and, we have a theme to each show, and Rick Moon in the same recipe reveal, but Umami is the same structure, right? It's a high budget production. We're trying to take people on a journey. And I think the cool thing I will say is, now that I have my back property that has this stage and these unique experiences and all these tables, is that after each new show that we do and we plan on filming, we kind of want to have a party in the back where people are invited to the show's final episode, and we just party and eat that food, drink that libation, meet the people, because I have this blank canvas to celebrate. And so we shoot our production shows in here, offsite, all around the country, and then we celebrate in the yard. And we're creating this one location to celebrate the production film studios, the drinks, the people, the culture, the food. So anyway,
are most of your shows scripted, unscripted? Do you shift gears? Like, wow, we came into the shoot thinking we're going to do this, but you know what? This is kind of cool to do this.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a general, unless we're doing like B-roll or voiceover, there's a script. But there's many shows where we'll be filming something again offset, not in the studio here where I'm doing a live show where I'm just ranting like I am with you. But yeah, there's many times where something will come up and it's just go with it. It's like we trust the people that we work with, and my crew is incredible. And Chris, as the creative director, knows what's going to work and not work. And you can always edit, you can always edit. You're probably going to edit half of the crap that I'm telling you right now.
We're going to let it run, girl. We're going to let it run. So like if you have a guest chef, you've got a call to the set, somebody's got to produce that. Somebody's got to understand what's going on. And then all of a sudden you're going, wait a minute, I didn't you go to let's say you go to the Kikkoman, which is really cool to go to that because it's a huge soy sauce maker. And you go, man, I didn't realize this. Let's take this in a different direction and talk about, fermentation of soybeans. So I don't know, whatever it is.
There's always that. I mean, we have a very advanced script ahead of time of, we'll do site visits ahead of time and prepare. It's not like we just show up, right? Because that's a detailed process. We want to be educated and not look like idiots showing and be like, oh, where do we start?
Yeah.
But I think there's a natural process with anything, with any production. Things are going to ebb and flow, and you either keep it in the cut or you edit it out.
Are these half-hour shows?
What's that?
Are they 1 hour, half hour, 45 minutes?
All of them vary. Our shows with Jacques, Home Cooking with Jacques Pepin, some are 8, some are 20. So it varies on the theme and the style. So Umami Universe I think we're going to keep it shorter in the 5 to 8 realm. As we're realizing people's attention spans are getting less and less because they want these short form videos and going on Instagram and going on TikTok and seeing. But I think we will have such high quality content that people will be very attracted to learning about the universe of Japanese cuisine. So I would say 5 to 8 minutes is probably what we're looking at for that series.
So that's interesting because it seems like, the streaming world, that's probably right. But then you have, the shows that you see on TV and Food Network and all that, and they're half hour, typically maybe an hour sometimes. Parts Unknown was a half hour, No Reservations an hour. I forgot Bourdain's show. But people want to be people, as long as you keep them engaged, it seems to me that they go as long as they need to go, right?
And we might. I mean, I'm just, our live shows are around 45 minutes. I'm going. It's like this, where the audience is, mind you, in front of me right now, if I'm doing a live show with chefs and celebrities and musicians playing horns, 40 people are in front of me drinking wine, and they're partying and they're having fun and we're engaging. Whereas the scripted shows are going to be edited, and again, some of our Jacques shows are 18, 20 minutes. So it just totally is based on the set of theme, and our shows with Rick Moonen, who's a partner of mine, and I love you, Rick. Those are all
shout out to Rick.
It varies, and I think that you just have to get a feeling of how much engagement you think somebody will have, because we're not going to put something out just to put it out because we shot it and we paid for it.
So you prefer subscriptions, but anybody can watch at any time. Then you go to feasted. Feast.network.com. No, feast.network.
Feastedforward.com is our lifestyle brand where you can see all the studio and the yard experiences. Feast.network is our web-based media production network that you'll find on feastedforward.com too.
And if I'm traveling to Napa, so this is a really fun thing, and I want my listeners to know, because I get this question all the time. Well, we're going to Napa. What do you recommend? I'm like, what do you mean recommend? It's like, there's a lot of things to do, and I don't know how much wine tasting you want to do, and I don't do any when I go there usually. So, but here's a great opportunity to try something completely different, be part of a program, witness the way this works, because part of the experience, the inspiration, not only comes from the content that you're producing, but the actual production of the content, which in itself is obviously a task that we're just peeled back. So, if I wanted to get the calendar of events for this group, where would I go?
Feastedforward.com, click on events, and you'll see, we're open on every day, but Wednesdays people can come in and drink incredible wines from our 16 producers, glasses, bottles, tasting flights, or they can look at the calendar and see that the Reggae Fest is this Friday, or we have the Blues Barbecue Festival with, some incredible new chef opening up a barbecue joint down the street, or Pride Tea Dance on the 25th. We have so many different fun experiences that they can see, many of which are free. The production shows are not, but there's just go to feastedforward.com, click on events, and we have something for everybody.
Feastedforward.com. This has been inspiration. We're only on an hour, so I don't want to take any more of your time. But fascinating stuff. Well needed, I think, in our industry. We have the wine industry is in a very stale point right now. We need to move the needle, and we definitely have to get away from the $150 Napa cabs as the leading component of wines from California, and and get away from that and get some structured wines like Kira's wines that have structure and character and represent something, philosophy, if not that. And the same with food. I consider myself, at least I've studied the process of American food going back to, Pavillon, Le Pavillon in New York, and trying to understand how American food evolved. What maybe we're not done yet. Maybe we have a little bit more to talk about.
Yeah.
In the concept that I brought up before on the show, but I bring it up with you, I think it'll make a ton of sense. And that is, we've never protected our cuisine. The French protect their cuisine by region. They protect their wines by region. They protect their butter. They protect their cheese. The Italians do the same. And we kind of didn't do that, but we seem to be getting it back. We seem to be getting back a cultural expression of food in America. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. And I think it for me, my best thought is, don't bite the hand that feeds you. Like there is, we talk about wine, we talk about food, we go to restaurants, whether it's, I have no affiliation with Taco Bell or Subway, let's be clear, but there's something afforded for everybody. There's La Toque, there's French Laundry, there's the wines we have downstairs, all the way to these incredible small boutique allocation wines. And if we don't offer something for everybody here in Napa, Sonoma, Paso, we won't be existent. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and there is something for everyone. And so when I hear, we need to be reservation only, and it needs to be 6 and it's sit down, it's like, hey, people are going to grocery outlet and getting there's enough for all of us. And I'm here to support these incredible brands that are trying to create a story that have not only fascinating people behind them and incredible wines and varietals, but we want to represent them to the best of our ability. And if somebody walks in and wants Moscato, I want to give them Moscato. If they want a $150 cab from BY's Coombsville, I'm going to give that to you. But let's not break and rip and shred each other in pieces and say, this is this fancy industry. There are moments of that, but I think it's important to go to the food side of things and say, it's the same thing. I love my carnitas burritos from the food truck down the street.
Oh,
I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. There are hundreds of them parked around the corner from me, and I gobble those up, but I also like a nice dinner here and there. So let's just get food and beverage like out of the mix of fanciness, and just let's all celebrate what we can afford and not afford.
Kudos to you and what you're doing and the energy you're putting into it. Your husband is either overwhelmed or going right alongside.
Yes. He is the steady, easy, rock of the family that manages insurance. So I'm the risk taker plunging off the edge of the cliff. Not sure if the parachute's packed, but I'll find a way, and he's properly packing it at the edge. But that's why things work, right?
Good girl. Cheers,
right.
and thank you so much for the
We
time.
should talk more. I want to have you here. I'd love to host you and your wife when you buy that Yountville home, which manifest that, put it out in the universe.
We're working on it. Thank you for listening to Wine Talks with Paul, Callum, Carey. And don't forget to subscribe, because there's more great interviews on their way. Folks, have a great time out there in the wine world. Cheers.